Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Afham Jauhari bin Aldi, a senior archivist from National Archives of Malaysia, and I will moderating this seminar entitled Empowering Archive, Sweet and Bitter During Pandemic. This seminar is organized in conjunction with 53rd anniversary of Sarbika, which is today, July 9, 2021. Let us congratulate Sarbika for this celebration. Before we proceed with our event today, I want to share the objective of this seminar. As we are aware that every part of this world is affected by pandemic COVID-19. Due to that, the daily operation has changed for everyone, including the archive services. Sarbika has taken the initiative to set up an Asian Pandemic Response Archives, APARA, and it was launched last year during the International Archive Week 2020. Continuity of it, this year, Sarbika is organizing a seminar on the effort of this APARA from Sarbika member countries. Without further ado, let us hear from our keynote speaker, who is also the initiator of this effort. Please welcome Mr. Victorino Manalo, the Executive Director of National Archives of Philippines and the Sarbika Chairman, to deliver his keynote speech. Please welcome.
A good day to Deputy Director General Jafar Siddiq of the National Archives of Malaysia. Good day as well to Secretary General Ms. Hafiza Osman, and to the hardworking Secretary, and to all the heads and personnel of the member archives of Sarbika, or the Southeast Asia Regional Branch of the International Council of Archives. It is a signal honor as chair to greet you all a most happy anniversary day. Let me take this opportunity as well to thank the Secretariat for arranging this anniversary, as well as its related events like this webinar and the virtual exhibit. The Philippines has been fortunate to have been part of Sarbika from the very beginning 53 years ago. Since its inception, we, the component archives, have seen how the Sarbika members have worked together in the spirit of true ASEAN cooperation and unity. Now, we find ourselves having to stand united once more as we face a common challenge, the global pandemic. Looking back on how archives institutions were before the pandemic, it can be said that much has changed. At first, we in the archives had to struggle with the contradictions that arose between the need for continuous delivery of services vis-a-vis the need to keep each other safe and healthy. There was also the need for compliance with government restrictions. In the case of the National Archives of the Philippines, transactions were traditionally mostly done through face-to-face interactions. Our clients physically visit the DAP offices and the reading room in order to secure copies of documents. Our records management analysts physically visit government agencies to render technical assistance and advice, and to give advice. The pandemic forced all of us, not just the Philippines, to develop alternative work arrangements, which caused delays and needed a lot of adjustment. We all had to learn new ways of conducting business. For example, we all had to migrate to using video conferencing and electronic transactions. Even with the health and safety protocols in place, there were still employees who were infected with COVID-19. As we all sadly learned, losing a colleague to the disease was both tragic and traumatic. Given this situation, we find ourselves pondering, how do we empower archives in the time of pandemic? How do we make the archives relevant in these trying times? What changes or improvements do we have to make to fulfill our mandates without endangering the lives of our colleagues? It has been said that the mother of invention is necessity. Considering our many current trials, the need to think outside the box is truly a necessity. The National Archives of the Philippines, like all its sister ASEAN archives, modified the way things were done. We moved from face-to-face interactions to the use of virtual technologies. The pandemic truly pushed us towards the virtual world as it limited our physical interactions. We now all give our seminar workshops using computer screens. We are now discovering more ways to interact virtually through the use of the many new applications. As we all learn to adapt, human interactions improved over time. We innovated as we learned from doing, as we became more confident. We now realize that we can empower archives by understanding that we have it in us to overcome new challenges. We empower archives by realizing that we have the capacity to analyze, to innovate, and to adapt. We empower ourselves by knowing that we are part of an incredible phase of history during which all humanity rises together to overcome common barriers. Future generations are sure to ask how we dealt with the issues of today. Once more, we can say that archives empower themselves by realizing that it is our role to document the pandemic through SARBICA initiatives such as the APARA or the ASEAN Pandemic Response Archives. As we celebrate the 53rd founding anniversary of the Southeast Asian Regional Branch of the International Council on Archives, or SARBICA, I encourage everyone to look back and reflect on our past journeys. As we continue to move towards more empowered archives, let us draw our inspiration from the hurdles we have already overcome. Happy anniversary to all our SARBICA sisters and brothers, and from the Philippines, mabuhay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now we come to the seminar presentation to share with all. Each presenter today will have a total of 15 minutes for their presentation. Since it is a video seminar, there will be no question and answer session. However, if there is any question, feel free to submit your question through email to Mrs. Hafiza, the SARBICA Secretariat at hafiza@archive.gov.my, stated the name and country of the speaker together with the questions. Now, let's welcome our first presenter, Mrs. Nur Masitirena binti Haji Suhaimi, the Acting Director of Museum Department, National Archives of Brunei Darussalam since 2nd December 2019. Nur Masitirena received her Master in Public Administration from Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University Singapore in 2012. She has been in the government service since 1999 and has gained more than 20 years of professional experience in research, defense policy, strategic planning, public management, public relations, media affairs, and museum management. Let us welcome Mrs. Nur Masitirena to deliver her presentation with the topic, Empowering Archives, Sweet and Bitter Post-COVID-19, the Future of Archive, National Archive of Brunei Darussalam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings, everyone. It is a pleasure to meet our fellow SARBICA members. Let me introduce myself. I am Nur Masitirena binti Haji Suhaimi, Acting Director of Brunei Museum Department, Brunei Darussalam National Archive. I hope it is not too late to wish everyone a happy International Archives Day. It is indeed a very special celebration for archivists and record managers worldwide. Through this celebration, it provides an opportunity to highlight our unique role and to share experiences on record keeping and archival practices, especially during the pandemic. This year's theme, Empowering Archives, Sweet and Bitter, is very meaningful, especially in highlighting and acknowledging the important role of archives and its profession in capturing, securing, preserving, and make access to valuable records. Now, in sharing our experiences with the pandemic, the first COVID-19 case was detected in Brunei Darussalam on 9th March 2020. A whole of government approach was taken to address the pandemic, with the Ministry of Health taking the lead in collaboration with other key stakeholders. The World Health Organization, WHO, guidelines were adhered, including social distancing and self-isolation, as well as contact tracing through the application dubbed Bru Health. Brunei Darussalam National Archives' responses in countering the COVID-19 was primarily led by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports as our parent organization, providing the leadership and direction, ensuring effective mechanism and safeguards are all in place. The Business Continuity Plan, or BCP, was the key document for reference by all personnel of the organization that provided functional guidelines on how to operate during the pandemic. This included the de-escalation stages that limited selective activities under the Brunei Darussalam National Archives. Most importantly, emphasis was placed on the need to establish new safety routines, such as disinfecting public areas, installing temperature checkpoints, practices of self-hygiene, provision of hand sanitizers, enforcement of social distancing, and work from home for those personnel with health risks. Throughout the pandemic, priorities were also focused on educating and creating continuous awareness about the pandemic, as well as tips on safety routines and measures through the use of posters, circulars, and partnership with the local mass media. During the pandemic, our priority was to focus on safety needs, as well as ensuring services remain accessible to those who need them while maintaining the quality of service. Overall, when the pandemic happened in March last year, the situation was mitigated effectively through the whole government approach. The Brunei Darussalam National Archive services were only closed temporarily for about 3 months, after which we were able to slowly but steadily regain some kind of normalcy in our operation. The pandemic experience itself has prompted urgency to review our priorities and explore opportunities from this unexpected turn of events. The Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, as the parent organization, launched its strategic plan in December 2020. Aligned to this, the Brunei Darussalam National Archives was also taking initiative to review its baseline, priorities, and expected deliverables, both during peace and crisis time. The 3 main focus areas highlighted in the strategic plan of the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports included strategic partnership, quality service delivery, and quality of life. On that note, I will just touch on one of our primary goals, which is towards digitalization of archives. Lesson learned from the pandemic experience was how limitation to physical interaction and engagement put a halt to provision and access to archive services. In addition to this, outcome from a recent dialogue with local archive institutions also centered on the urgency towards digitalization. Through maximization of technologies and digitalization, it is a shared belief that the Brunei Darussalam National Archives deliverables may be achieved with greater scale and impact. However, this is only achievable if technology is matched with the right resources and capacity in a sustainable manner. To achieve this, the Brunei Darussalam National Archives needs to gather strong support from the leadership and key stakeholders on fulfilling its new direction in this new normal and beyond. To complement this, strategic collaboration and networking will enable us to empower archives and its profession to realize our long-term goals and objectives. In terms of lifelong learning, the pandemic experience presented a valuable opportunity to capture critical and life moments in our national as well as global experiences during this challenging time. For example, through oral history interviews, to capture the experiences of frontliners during the pandemic may provide valuable records for future references. This is a golden opportunity to capture the pandemic experience by tapping on cross-functional team approach to ensure wider coverage of the situation across all sectors. In hindsight of the pandemic, the future remains unknown. Brunei Darussalam National Archives need to ensure its relevance and resilience to counter emerging challenges and uncertainties in the future. Achieving high level of readiness and preparedness for an uncertain future is no easy feat. The lesson learned from the pandemic is that we saw how the whole of government approach worked very well in mitigating the crisis, which was in collaboration with partners nationally and beyond. On that note, I would like to emphasize on the importance of existing affiliation through regional and global platforms such as Sarbika and ICA. I sincerely believe that more strategic collaboration, either bilaterally or multilaterally, may be explored for shared benefit in areas of common interest. Digitalization of archives need to be prioritized in ensuring the relevance and accessibility of records as a way forward post-COVID. To address existing technological gaps, I highly encourage for this grouping to explore opportunities for capacity building and technology transfer amongst its members. This will pave the way for every archives institutions to grow together by sharing of knowledge, experiences, and resources. To wrap up, in any attempt to innovate and improve, it needs to be complemented with a change management strategy. This includes consistent and effective communication, stakeholders' buy-ins, and capacity building measures. Embedding good governance in practices is also essential to ensure quality services, deliverables, and professionalism in records and archives management. But overall, any solution or intervention selected must be considered based on the content and context, where and when it is required and to be applied. This is what the pandemic has taught us and should be used as a useful reminder for future undertakings. Finally, thank you for this opportunity to share the experiences and direction of Brunei Darussalam National Archives during the pandemic. I sincerely look forward to meeting everyone when the situation permits. And please do look after yourself and be safe.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nur Masitarena. Now let us proceed to the next speaker, Ms. So Nanui, a director from National Archives of Myanmar. She has a Bachelor of Art, Myanmar, and Masters in Public Administration, MPA. She has 27 years of working experience in National Archives of Myanmar. Her topic is Romantic Day for Tomorrow, COVID-19. Let us listen to the presentation.
Hello, good afternoon. Greetings from National Archives of Myanmar. Happy 53rd anniversary of Sarbika to you all. I am Sonan Le, Director, National Archives of Myanmar. Now I would like to present my presentation. I prepared my presentation for last month for webinar as a part of International Archive Week. Now we change to video seminar. seminar. My title is Documenting Today for Tomorrow COVID-19. COVID-19 empowering archivists and visitors. This is the summary of my presentation. A brief history of our National Archive of Myanmar, vision, mission, and objectives of National Archive of Myanmar. About the COVID-19, the role of National Archive of Myanmar in this pandemic. Documenting COVID-19, the archive acquires or collected records on COVID-19, the new normal adopted by archive, the work of the archive after the second wave of COVID-19, empowering archivists and visitors. Firstly, I would like to tell you about what is empowering archives. What does it come from? It is the ICA strategic plan for 2021 and 2024, based on the empowering knowledge societies. Empowering archive stream, accountability, collaboration, and inclusivity. Accountability, how archives, archivists, and record managers are accountable and how they scope the accountability of other institutions. Collaboration, how archives, archivists, and record managers are strengthening their network, enabling more collaboration within the sector and other professions, and working on being more collaborative to develop new archival practices and approaches. And inclusivity, how archives are starting to engage in learning and acting on more intensive, more diverse and inclusive spaces, practices, and conversations. These things I copied from the webinar or ICA. I will move on our subtitle, Brief History of our National Archive of Myanmar. Our archive established in 1972. In 1982, there was a program strengthening of national archives developed by UNDP. UNDP provided technology and needed equipment and materials for newly archived. In 1990, National Records and Archive Law was enacted. In 1991, procedures relating to the National Records and Archive Law enacted. In 1991, our archive became a member of SAVICA and also became a member of ICA in 1993. We can have 11 SAVICA meetings in Myanmar in 1997. In the year of 2000, we amended our procedures, and then 2007, we also amended the National Records and Archive Law. 2015, our headquarters inaugurated in Naypyidaw. It is in Middle Myanmar. 2017, we received government approval to extend mandatory branch. It is in Upper Myanmar with new organization shop in our Myanmar. 3 archives. Headquarters is in Naypyidaw, capital city of Myanmar. Another one is Yangon. It is in Lower Myanmar. Another one is Mandalay. It is in Upper Myanmar. 2019, the new National Records and Archive Law enacted again. I move on another subtitle, Vision, Mission, Objectives of the National Archive of Myanmar. Our vision, the dissemination of records and archive knowledge and accelerating the utilization of archival science throughout the country. Mission, acquisition of records and archive, preservation of them, and rendering our service to citizens and public. There are three objectives of our archive. The first is to supervise and guide the accumulation, safekeeping, and conservation of our national records. Second, to ascertain and collect materials from private sources, organizations at home and abroad. The third, to offer guidance in the promotion and advancement of records management and archive administration in Myanmar. Then I will tell you about what is the COVID-19. Where does it start? COVID-19 means coronavirus disease 2019. China announced the outbreak of COVID-19 in December 2019. WHO declared the outbreak of coronavirus a public health emergency or international concern on 30 January 2020 and as a pandemic on 11 March 2020. Almost immediately, Myanmar acted to protect its citizens. The Ministry of Health and Sports organized a central committee for the prevention, control, and treatment of the virus and hold meetings on a daily basis. On 23rd March 2020, the Ministry of Health confirmed the first two coronavirus cases and officially announced that the virus was not active in Myanmar. Central Committee at the outbreak of COVID-19 in Myanmar to oversee the prevention, control, and treatment of cases. And another subtitle is the role of the National Archives of Myanmar in this pandemic. To control the pandemic, the Central Committee issued instructions, orders, and rules and regulations regarding to the working practices in public offices. The archives continue to function about and reduce capacity as follows. The closure of deliver service on site and at our reading room, although our online system fully functioning. We are operating with only 50% of our staff level and we are attending to preservation and administration work. Documenting COVID-19 materials. We have chosen to collect some of the global data relating to COVID-19 together with additional information from our own government departments for future study on Myanmar efforts to minimize the infection rates and death of its own citizens. For example, World Health Organization, Ministry of Health and Sport, President's Office, Ministry of Planning and Finance, and Ministry of Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement. We have the knowledge and facilities to ensure their safe preservation and that the heading preserve today, share tomorrow. These history records will be useful for future generations. I think documenting today for tomorrow the collection of COVID-19 material relevant to empowering archives, accountability, collaboration, and inclusivity. The archive acquire or collected records on COVID-19. We are collecting the following information on COVID-19 in relation to Myanmar response, prevention, control, and treatment, and the Get Vaccinated campaign. Government and industry orders, report, instructions, directives, policy, public announcements, new rules and regulations, awareness programs, head of state speeches, meeting minutes, directives for employers, a donation program, both local and foreign countries, and question and answer programs related to COVID-19. The sixth. I will show you the material we have collected in this pandemic. These are global information for public awareness poster. This animation for our people, the hand washing, the co-ethnic create, how to wear mask, the living, how to live, to change the living habit, facility quarantine, the poster, this poster and carton, we can see everywhere throughout all Myanmar. We collected such kind of materials and posters. We acquired and collected records and different formats, such as the document, book, newspapers, pamphlet, poster, photo, song, and audio visual. We preserve them in a suitable environment. I will show you the URL name of COVID-19 data sources. We obtain additional COVID-19 information from the following websites: www.mohs and MRTV, MOI, Facebook, the MOPFI, and WHO. You can get information from the URL. In this pandemic, we have done the collecting the materials and reports relating to COVID-19, and then another we have doing work is delivering our service online, our service to online system, and then our staff are learning the online training program, record and archive management program provided by National Archive of Korea. And then we attended the international webinar, international seminar, the Zoom seminar, and then the local meeting and local webinar, such as the UNESCO provided documented heritage rich policy, get in digital preservation, plan webinar, all you may know. And then Indonesia provided Zone International Seminar on Indian Ocean Tsunami and Gender Archival, Documenting Heritage and Memory of the War. We can learn this seminar and webinar. I will show you the attending online training. Foreign meeting, Zoom meeting with friendship. These are new normal adopted by our archive. And once all the archive after the second wave of COVID-19, government issues instruction, orders, and rules and regulation again. Almost the entire set of archive being vaccinated also are now encouraged to return to work. The reading room reopened and we are receiving members of the public under the current rules and regulations, which include the wearing face masks and maintaining a distance of 6 feet. I will show you the new normal adopted by our archive. Preservation and conservation our records and archive. And then after second wave, we deliver service at the reading room, the knowledge sharing program. These are new normal adopted by archive. Social distancing, we receive the visitors after second wave, visit or minister to archive. Okay, and the last one is empowering archive data. In this pandemic, we have switch and beta things. The switch things are access to official website, which enable the quick and safe collection of COVID-19 information, excellent graphics and flowchart. The second, we can learn the online training, meetings, webinar, and seminar, both the international and the local. The third, promoting festival website so as to dismiss fake news. For example, WHO, BBC, MOHS, MOPS, and President Office. These are 6 things. I will mention you the beta things. Closure of our archive, the temporary loss of 50% of staff, which resulted in backlog or request for documents, those our online service fully functioned. The inability to meet others face-to-face to provide training or attend seminars. The fact is the concern and anxiety feeling we all have for family, friends, colleagues, and our fellow citizens. These are beta things. In my opinion, 3 things are beta things are more than 3 things in this pandemic. As I have told you about my presentation prepared for last month, and now our country has facing the third wave. COVID-19 is spreading very fast throughout the country. We are afraid of COVID-19, and then our government issues orders, rules and regulations again related to COVID-19. That's all about my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you all stay strong, fight against COVID-19. Thank you very much for
Thank you for the
listening.
presentation.
From
Our
National
third speaker
Archive.
is from National Archives of Malaysia, Mrs. Siti
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Hawiyah Manang, the head of
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Reference and Access Service
Thank
Section.
you. Good morning
She
to
has
all.
26 years experience as archivist, holding a Master of Science in Information Management from University Technology Mara, and her degree Bachelor in History from Malaya University. She will share with us the topic of reference and access of archival materials during pandemic COVID-19. National Archive of Malaysia experience.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you. Good morning to all participants in this program. Thank you for giving me opportunity, National Archive of Malaysia experience in conducting reference and access service during pandemic COVID-19. This presentation consists six main topics. I will start with the background of MCO or Movement Control Order, followed by research room facilities, guideline, searching system, statistic of our usage, and lastly, archive essential of time. This slide I will explain about Movement Control Order. Malaysia reported its first 3 cases on 25th January 2020. The number of positive cases increased beyond 500 cases on 16 March 2020. And this situation makes the Malaysia announce a Movement Control Order or MCO on 18 March until 3 May 2020. The total lockdown was implemented where all sectors are closed except essential service. During this period, a strict standard of procedure are imposed, such as social distancing, wearing face masks, prohibition of mass gathering and movement, closure of government and private sector, and only one person from one family could leave the home and go out to buy essential goods. Because of this announcement, NAM research room was closed to all researchers. By early May, this MCO lockdown has led to a gradually decline in daily infection. In response, the Malaysian government progressively relaxed lockdown restriction in a staggered pace, beginning with the Conditional Movement Control Order or CMCO on 4 May until 9 June 2020, and then followed by Recovery Movement Control Order on 10 June 2020 until 31st March 2021. During this period, research room was allowed to open with standard of procedure and restricted 20 researchers per day. On 14 October, our research room was closed again due to increase of cases in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur. Government announced that these two territories will put under CMCO. Our research room was reopened on 10 March 2021 with same standard procedure, but on 6 May, we are closed again since cases increased tremendously in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur. Right now, Malaysia is still in phase 1 of Movement Control Order under National Recovery Plan, NRP, as the 3 key threshold value indicator has not been achieved yet. The 3 indicators are that the number of daily COVID-19 cases dropped to below 4,000, the rate of a bed usage in intensive care units ICU is at moderate level, and finally 10% of the population has received 2 doses of vaccine jab. From 6 May until now, our research rooms remain closed. Okay, next slide. Research room facilities. This slide is in a normal capacity. NAM research room can accommodate 100 researchers. We have 20 terminal clients to be used to search archive material through Compass system. Opening schedule is from 9 AM to 4 PM. There are 2 phases of borrowing time of archival material. One is from 9 AM until 12:30 noon, and second one is from 2 PM to 3:30 PM. To cater any researchers who cannot come during weekday, we are open on Saturday in the month. The schedule, this extra service will be found in NAM portal, Facebook, and Telegram. During pandemic, with strict standard of procedure, we are allowed to receive 20 researchers a day. We are not allowed any walk-in researcher or who came without any appointment. Open schedule is shortened from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Meanwhile, borrowing of archival material time is from 9 a.m. to 12:30 noon only, and we are not open on Saturday. Okay, next slide. Standard of procedure, special guideline to be used during pandemic to be complied by researchers. There are two separate SOPs in this guideline. First, before entering NAM, and second, during the visit. First, all researchers must make an appointment through telephone a day before coming to research room, and they have to do preliminary research through our online search engine OFA before the visit. This is to help expedite the researcher search and request. During the visit, researchers are required to wear face mask all the time, register in attendance form, check body temperature, and scan QR code My Sejahtera at main entrance. My Sejahtera is an application to obtain information on the person whereabouts. This application also disseminates information about COVID-19 in Malaysia. After the risks are given body sticker, and they must wear it while in NAM compound. Practice social distancing and use hand sanitizer for disinfection. Meanwhile, NAM staff are required to follow SOPs from government, such as wearing face masks all the time, avoid direct consultation with client, practicing social distancing, and use hand sanitizer for disinfection. Okay, next slide. This slide I want to share with you some pictures. First, the pictures of infographic of SOPs have been displayed in our portal, Facebook, and Telegram. This notification is to create awareness to public. Second, pictures show sanitizing facilities in our research room. Third picture shows the first day of the opening of our research room, where researchers practicing social distancing and keeps 1.5 meters between them. Third pictures show the view inside our research room, where researchers are required to be seated one person per table. Next slide. Research room service during MCO. The research room has been opened only twice. On 15 June to 13 October 2020, we are open for 86 days. Meanwhile, in 2021, we are open 41 days from 10 March to 6 May. On 2020, total numbers of researchers attend are 1,509, and the numbers of archival material refers 36,112. However, this year, the number is decreased due to less opening days. Only 594 researchers are coming to our research room, and 20,760 archive material has been referred. Searching system. NAM has two searching systems. One is OFA, Online Finding Aid, and the other is Compass. OFA is an online finding aid system developed in 2016 to enable archival material to be accessed from everywhere and anytime. Second, archival material in digital format to be accessed without having to come to the research room. Archival material can be searched throughout all NAM branches. Researchers are able to reserve archival material which have not been digitized yet 3 days in advance before coming to the research room. OFA has two methods of search engine, either by using word or phrase that related to research or by using digital record. This system is very helpful and effective during this pandemic period. So if you want to serve OFA, please type ofa.archive.gov.my. Meanwhile, Compass, computerized archival system and services, is an in-house search engine that has been developed in 1990. Compass has three methods of searching. One, by assessing number if the researcher know the number through OFA system. And second, by using search tag. And third, by using source of the record such as name, government agency, and name of organization or name of person who has been donated their personal collection to NAM. Researcher must come to our research room either in headquarters or state branches to use the system. If researcher to retrieve record from state branch, they must change the custodial location column in this system. Photocopy service is available upon request. Okay, next. This slide shows the OFA usage statistic during the pandemic period in 2020, 2021, and a year before 2019. From the graph, we can see that on 2019, there are almost 500,000 OFA count of hit, and the total of referred archive material is 39,000. Based on the graph, we can see OFA effectively being used during the pandemic time. In 2020, the number of count of hits increased almost 600,000, and total of referred archive material also increasing to 49,000. The usage of OFA is increased this year. Within 6 months, from January to May 2021, the number of count of hit and total of referred archive material are 326,000 and 25,000. Okay, next. Archive essential of time. From normal to new normal life. This pandemic gives us a huge impact, become part of this historic moment. In NAM, we do have some records pertaining Spanish flu. This flu is known as the first wave of pandemic in the world, 1980. This first picture shows the record letter of Governors General South Africa to Governor Street Settlement regarding the Spanish flu. The second picture shows the record contained the closing of theater and other places of public resort during the prevalence of the influenza. We, as archivists, must collect all records pertaining this COVID-19 to ensure those records will be preserved for future generation reference. I hope that this presentation will benefit the all participants, and the most important thing, we really hope that this pandemic will be end soon. That's all from me. Stay safe. Kita jaga kita. Thank you and terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Siti Hawiyah. We welcome to the fourth speaker, Mr. Remal G. Talabis, a senior archivist and the officer in charge of National Archives of the Philippines, the Archive Preservation Division. He is a graduate of Bachelor in Public Administration of the Pamantasan ng Lungsod, Manila. He is currently pursuing a Master in Public Administration degree in the same university. His topic today is the National Archives in the time of the pandemic, accepting the challenge and moving forward. The presentation will discuss the challenges encountered by the National Archive of Philippines in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, the steps taken to address the said challenges, and the lesson learned in this journey, which became the basis in planning for the new normal.
Very good day to everyone, and I hope everyone is safe and doing well. My name is Remal G. Talabis. I'm a senior archivist of the National Archives of the Philippines, and I am currently the officer in charge of the Archives Preservation Division. Before I begin, please allow me to thank the organizers of this event for inviting the National Archives of the Philippines to share our experiences regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Here is the outline of my topic. Please browse to it for a few seconds and we will begin afterwards. Okay. The COVID-19 began sometime in November in China. It spread in many countries from to the World Health Organization to declare the disease as a pandemic. Well, earlier in February of 2020, the National Archives of the Philippines had plans of sending officials to Spain in Seville, to be exact, to attend meetings with the Association of Latin American Archives and the Intergovernmental Council of the IBER Archives. Well, I was supposed to be one of the officials of the National Archives of the Philippines that will be attending the meeting in Seville, Spain. And considering that there's not many opportunities for travel in the archives, it was one of the first frustrations I had dealing with the pandemic. I have been working for months on that opportunity to travel abroad, but we had to cancel it due to the COVID-19 spread during that time. But I think it was the best option during that time, given the growing world concern about the pandemic COVID-19 spread. Hey, a few days after the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 as a pandemic on March 11, 2021, the Philippine government placed Luzon and the National Capital Region under enhanced community quarantine. This meant the suspension of schools in all levels and mass public transport. Mass gatherings were also prohibited, and travel by land, sea, and air was restricted. Work from home arrangements were carried out except for those personnel working in the police force, the military, and the health and emergency frontline services. To explain further, there are 4 levels of community quarantine in the Philippines. First and the most strict is the enhanced community quarantine, or ECQ. Then the modified enhanced community quarantine, MECQ, followed by the general community quarantine, GCQ, and the more opened and relaxed modified general community quarantine. In the first few months of implementation of the community quarantine, libraries, archives, and museums are closed to the public, from ECQ to GCQ. People were also not allowed to leave their houses. Those who are allowed to report to work are only those people that works in healthcare and food preparation and distribution sectors only, and because they were also considered as what we call frontliners. People who were not frontline workers were allowed to go out, but only to purchase basic necessities. But that they must always wear their respective quarantine pass. This pass was issued to only one person in each household and is not transferable. The people with the quarantine pass are allowed to go out only during specific hours of the day to avoid clustering of people in the marketplace. Right now, the implementation of the community quarantine is a bit less aggressive. The National Archives is now allowed to open to clients during the general community quarantine at 30% capacity at the least. Right now, the archives offices in Manila and in Cebu are open to clients at 50% capacity. Due to the restrictions brought about by the imposition of community quarantines, government agencies, including the National Archives of the Philippines, implemented the minimum health standards released by our Department of Health, like frequent hand washing of hands, wearing of face mask, and social distancing. Later on, the wearing of face shields also became a minimum health standard. Agencies were also ordered to implement work from home arrangement. Full work from home arrangement were implemented during the enhanced community quarantine and the modified enhanced community quarantine periods. Okay. The NAP implemented a 2-day work week arrangement during general community quarantine, and later a 3-day work week period. The National Archives of the Philippines also modified its office layout to encourage social distancing during in-office work schedules. During work from home arrangement, the need to communicate was one of the priority activities that the National Archives wanted to do. So information technology played a huge role in these trying times. We first tried to utilize a text messaging application. Meetings were conducted through the said messaging application also, and communications, mainly communications were established not really just to focus on the work being done, but just to but just to be able to check on the conditions of each personnel and officials of the archives, and how they are dealing with the situation brought about by the pandemic. Government workers like us in the National Archives of the Philippines were lucky enough to not have undergone the problems that the private company workers are experiencing during this period. Okay. We later on transferred our communication systems to a video conferencing based system wherein communications were made a bit more personal and more engaging. The National Archives of the Philippines also made an effort to strengthen its shift towards online business transactions. We enhanced our online presence and asked the public to continue to access the services that we provide through online means, like through our official email, through our website, and through our social media accounts. So we also digitized how we conduct trainings, from being a face-to-face activity to doing it through the online setting. We are still improving our system, but we are getting the message and the information across our clients through online means. Well, on records management, due to requests coming in from the medical sector in the government, the National Archives released Memorandum Circular Number 1, Series of 2020, titled Handling and Disinfection of Patient Records Deemed Infectious. The memorandum gave basic instructions on how to disinfect patient records that are most probably contaminated by the COVID-19 virus, being that these records were being produced inside the hospital setting. The National Archives of the Philippines also continued for a period of time during general community quarantine period in 2020 to conduct disposal of valueless records following strict health and safety protocols. But now, due to the emergence of new variants of the COVID-19 virus, the National Archives of the Philippines halted temporarily its disposal activities for the protection of its personnel. Also, on records management, after seeing that most government agencies are coping with the pandemic by converting their manual processes into online transactions, which basically means that they are already producing digital records. The National Archives of the Philippines crafted and released its Electronic Records Management Policy, or ERMP, on April 1, 2021. The Electronic Records Management Policy will guide government agencies in establishing an electronic records management program. It also discusses the basic features of an electronic records management system and also the tasks that each sector of the agency must perform in order to implement the transition from paper-based systems to an electronic records management regime. Moving forward, the National Archive is currently working on the implementation of the Philippine Pandemic Response Archives project that aims to collect records pertaining to the government's response with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic and to have these records available to researchers in the future. The National Archives is also already processing the purchase of its electronic records management system that will be used in managing its electronic records. The Training Information Division of the National Archives is also currently studying the possibility of converting its training modules into the virtual setting and is also planning to purchase a learning management system or an LMS to implement this program. In accordance with the and also in accordance with the Philippine government's aim of achieving herd immunity through the implementation of its COVID-19 vaccination program, the National Archives of the Philippines is also coordinating with the government of the City of Manila in having its employees vaccinated with available COVID-19 vaccines. And the National Archives also encourages its personnel to get vaccinated in their respective areas of residence. The vaccines offer us a way towards the achievement of what we call the new normal. We are positive that through the efforts of our government and the support of our people, we will get there sooner rather than later. And with that, once again, I am Remel G. Talapis, and I thank you for listening. And stay safe, everyone. Mabuhay from the National Archives of the Philippines. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Ramel, for the presentation. Now we call upon our next speaker, Nur Shirin Mustafa, Specialist Oral History at the Oral History Center, National Archive of Singapore. Her interviews focus on the economic, social, and cultural aspect of the ethnic Malay community in Singapore. Presently, she's part of the OHC team that is documenting Singapore's COVID-19 experience. The topic to share for today is documenting COVID-19 in Singapore through oral history. Please welcome.
Hello everyone, it is a pleasure to present at the SABICA conference. My name is Shireen, an oral history interviewer at the National Archive of Singapore. The subject for my talk is documenting COVID-19 in Singapore through oral history. My presentation will be divided into three parts. In the first part, I'll give you an overview of this initiative. Then I will cover the ideation process of designing this oral history project and a little bit on our oral history collection. Lastly, I will share with you some of my preliminary findings for this project. Last year, May, the National Library Board and the National Museum of Singapore launched an open call for materials that capture how lives have changed due to the ongoing pandemic. We invited the community to contribute content under these two themes. First one, daily life during the pandemic. Second one, the experiences of frontline and essential workers and those who have shown kindness to help the community. So what did the library and museum collect respectively? The library welcomed everyone to submit video, audio recording, images, templates, and journal, anything that is related to Singapore's life during the pandemic. On the other hand, the National Museum of Singapore collected objects and gadgets like clothes, hand-sewn masks, and any object that best represent one experience and memory of living through this time. More than 4,000 submissions, ranging from photo, personal stories, videos, and website nomination were received. These materials are related to healthcare and social services, travel, community facilities, and culture and life celebrations. Early this year, the National Museum of Singapore launched an exhibition called Picturing the Pandemic, a visual record of COVID-19 in Singapore. This exhibition showcased 9 oral history interview extracts from our collection. Some of the stories included if a nurse encounter at the start of the COVID-19 outbreak in Singapore, and we also have a story on a trainee teacher relaying how she and her friends learned to adapt to home-based teaching. These oral history interviews are part of the Documenting COVID-19 in Singapore Oral History Project. The Oral History Centre is a department at the National Archive of Singapore, an institution under the National Library Board. We conceptualized this oral history project to contribute to in-depth first-person accounts to such documenting efforts. This is a 2-year oral history project where we want to collect COVID-19 stories. And unlike our previous oral history project, where we usually collect narratives when a crisis concludes, for the first time, we are actively collecting narrative during the pandemic. And one good thing about active collecting during or soon after the pandemic, it allows us to capture the psychological and emotional responses and the lesson learned to be documented. And during the interviews, through in-depth probing by our interviewers, it allows us to clarify certain areas where are necessaries, and it helps us to create a rich body of primary sources for preservation. Let's move to the ideation process of designing this oral history project. When the team brainstormed on this project, we were guided by these 3 key elements we want in our project. Firstly, we want to make sure both our interviewees and interviewers are safe during the pandemic. Secondly, we want our staff to record using a software that produces high quality digital files that meet the archival standard for preservation. This means that it can produce a WAV file or an uncompressed digital file. Thirdly, we want this project to represent a broad spectrum of COVID-19 experiences from both public and private sectors. So with this key element in mind, we established a conceptual framework for this oral history project. Number 1, we will conduct oral history interview remotely. We will collaborate with agencies and community partners, and we will adopt a 3-tier approach to interviews. I will explain further in my next slide. When we talk about we want to conduct oral history interviews remotely, firstly, we research on the opportunities and challenges of remote interviewing. We refer to other oral history practitioners in other countries on the new development of practices and procedures to enable us to do remote interviewing. We must make a lot of preparation to embark on remote interviewing, where we have to equip our staff with proper interview setup at home. So we got them laptops, webcams, mics, headphones, so that they can conduct interviews in the comfort of their home. We also transfer the physical case file to a digital one, so that it's easier for our colleague in the documentation side to process after we conclude the interview. Another thing is we need to prepare two of our studios with stable LAN connection for staff use. And we need to establish a remote interviewing workflow, such as making sure that we conduct preliminary remote meeting to check the quality of our audio and the environment that the interviewee is in. We also purchased an annual recording software subscription that provides high quality uncompressed audio recording. This software is only accessible to OHC staff and selected partners. Lastly, we train our staff on the setup of recording equipment at home and how to navigate the recording software for remote interviews. We conduct oral history interviews and we collaborated with suitable agencies and community partners to conduct interviews. This is an opportunity for us to seek the interest and appreciation of oral history and at the same time grow a pool of volunteer community interviewers. By working with partners, we are able to tap on their broad network and reach out to interviewees from all walks of life. And we also feel that volunteer community interviewers offers a fresh perspective and dimension on the COVID-19 narrative that we have been collecting. So in last August, we had an open call for volunteer community interviewers, and we got very good response, and we trained 40 community interviewers remotely, and they have contributed to 80 interviews so far. The volunteer community interviewers, what they did is after the training, they would approach the interviewees themselves and conduct the interviews through Zoom. And also they completed a set of documentation paperwork. So why do we choose to use Zoom? Number one, people are increasingly familiar with this software since COVID-19, where everyone has to work from home, and we have to have where we have a Zoom meeting. Number two is it is free to download and use, and it has a recording function. So how do we approach these interviews? The method that we use is to group our interviewees into 3 tiers. The first tiers is leaders who are the policy and decision makers from the government. Then we have the second tiers, and the second tier belongs to agencies executing the government pandemic response and public and private responses from the healthcare and medical sector, as well as providers of essential services and the social sectors. As we are currently in the midst of the pandemic, we do understand that these interviewees under tier 1 and tier 2, they are still addressing this public health crisis. So it will be hard to catch them and spend time to do this oral history interview, because oral history interview, the average duration is 6 to 8 hours. Therefore, we currently focus on the third tier that covers community voices, and these are the general public, including students, homemakers, and foreign workers. After 1 year into the project, I'm happy to share that we managed to record 92 completed interviews, and 41 of these interviews are already published online. We have reached out to diverse people from patients, healthcare workers, teachers, students, employees, and employers, and not forgetting our social workers. Let me share with you an extract of an oral history interview done by our volunteers. I specifically chose this interview as it resonates with the theme of this conference. It reflects the sweet and bitter experience of COVID-19 by this interviewee. A little bit more about her. Her name is Jacqueline Chan, and she's the COO of the Hip and Happening Group. Chan operates a hostel that houses foreign workers from Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam on their stay home notice in the early part of COVID-19. So in her interview, she covered about the friendship she built with her guests from different countries, and where they offered to cook for her on some days and help her realize her dream of having an edible rooftop garden at her hostel. Okay, let's listen to her interviews.
The same guests stay with me since March up till now. So
Wow.
become pretty good friends with them. I've got to know some of them are very good cooks. So some days they will also cook for me. So on their day off, they say, okay, come, I cook for you chili crab. I was like, I didn't even know it all. So they can come up with certain, and one really great thing. So you know how I told you I had a very nice rooftop, right?
Right.
And I'm too bad at gardening. I've always tried to want to have this edible garden up there because it's so nice. I've got lots of plants that became weeds. So right now, the guests that I house, they're amazing. They actually de-weeded everything. And they plant like kangkong and they plant like tomatoes. So I have an edible garden upstairs now because they obviously cook a lot at the hostel, right? So now I have an edible garden upstairs, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
really good. So a lot of good things have come out from this. I
Perfect.
finally have my edible rooftop garden.
Next, we have a soundbite from Huang Ye Gray, a nurse who shared his encounter with the first 2 COVID-19 patients in Singapore.
So I remember the point of the interesting encounter. The first couple who were diagnosed positive from Wuhan. Yeah, it's tracked by me. Yeah. So I was in PPE, and I cannot really see clearly. Yeah, my whole body sweat. Yeah, in this place called Econ area. So I was I attend to this couple. And the lady, when I first take her temperature, her temperature was 39 plus. You don't see high fever patients every day. Yeah, so it came to alert to me. This patient can be something happening going on with her. Then she told me she came from Wuhan. Yeah, then so I was like, first moment was like a shock. Then I was looking at myself, I'm in TB, so she was okay. Then after that, I think 2 days later, I read the news. The couple actually was positive.
I think we have seen how COVID-19 forced our Oral History Center at the National Archive to review our methodology and explore remote interviews. This is also timely as technology has changed the way we communicate with one another. While there are still downsides, some previous concern about remote interviews have also changed. It's because society has increasingly embraced technology, which makes both interviewees and interviewers more receptive on the use of online interviews. However, Oral History Center, we still prefer conducting face-to-face interview as first choice because it builds a stronger and meaningful business relation. At the same time, when you do a physical interview, it drives interviewee participation, and we as interviewer can read the interviewee body language, which play a significant role in our communication during interviews. However, our experience implementing a remote interviewing workflow is useful as we can still use them to interview interviewees who are residing overseas post-pandemic. This concludes my presentation, and you can reach me at this email to say hello or visit our website to hear more about our oral history project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sherif, for the excellent sharing of information. And now we have come to the final speaker, Mr. Dan Tang Tung, Director General of the State Records and Archive Department of Vietnam. This topic for today is promoting of archives, value in Vietnam in COVID-19 pandemic. Please welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we talk to you about the promotion of archive records, value in Vietnam in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Victorio Marano, Chairman of SAPICA. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic obviously affected every corner of social life and changed the way we communicate and work. That's also the reason why we have this video conference, one of the very material methods of communication. I am very happy to have opportunity to join you in this seminar, and on behalf of the State Record and Archive Department of Vietnam, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the Secretariat and the National Archive of Malaysia for your efforts during lockdown to conduct a seminar in the best possible conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, despite suffering difficulties caused by COVID-19, Vietnam Archive, on one hand, strive to ensure safety for its staff and wide preservation of work documentation heritage, national documentary treasure, and archival records, but on the other hand, make efforts to innovate this approach to promote archive value, to serve the need of the people, to support sustainable development of the country. In the context of SAPICA webinar on the empowering archive strategy, our presentation focused on our creative and innovative efforts, especially the application of the fourth industrial revolution archivement in our promoting method to connect the public and eliminate physical boundary, ensuring the continuity of the archival record promotion in the COVID-19 period. For the first party, we talk to you about the overview of the COVID-19 pandemic in Vietnam. 2020 was the year of money change, while the COVID-19 pandemic caused many challenges and difficulties to the world, and Vietnam was not an exception. Vietnam had been considered as one of the most successful countries in the prevention and control of COVID-19. It is the reason of the whole political system. When the first case of SARS-CoV-2 infection in the world were recorded, the party and the government of Vietnam immediately implemented urgent and comprehensive instruction, bringing effectiveness in the epidemic prevention and control of the basic of people health care first. In the end of the 2020, Vietnam was among the small number of countries in the world which conducted testing the Make in Vietnam vaccine of human for the first time. Vietnam has been recognized by the World Health Organization and the international community as a successful model in the pandemic control for its kind. Vietnam had been hit by the fourth wave of the COVID-19 infection since April 7, 2021. Up to now, 85 of the cases were recorded and 1.8% were declared dead. Facing up the attack of the new strain of coronavirus, Vietnam had once again proof of capacity of prevention and treatment. Vietnam had made deep impression in the international community and as a united country, where people always support government in the first against the pandemic with the spirit of fighting the pandemic is like fighting an enemy. Up to now, along the different measures, Vietnam has continued to maintain 5 key messages in the pandemic prevention and control, which proved to be a simple, economical, but effective method in current situation. The second party is about promotion of achievable record value, make new, make better. Vietnam archive keep more than 20 linear kilometers of record in which there are 2 documentary heritage inscribed in the International Register of the Memory of the World Program and 1 collection being recognized as a national treasure. They are the collection of the Nguyen Dynasty Royal Woodblock records, Nguyen Dynasty Imperial records, and decree enacted by President Ho Chi Minh under the provisional government of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. The guard and value record need to be promoted inside and outside the country. Therefore, promotion of the value of a carbon record is an approach to have the world, to have a better understanding about the culture, people, and the national defense story of Vietnam, a significant task of Vietnamese activists. In the past year, Vietnam was hit by several waves of COVID infection, which seriously affected every socio-economic aspect. However, in the context of public have seen changes and transition in the archive regarding the promotion of archival record value and making them more accessible by the public. Enhance the publication and promotion of archival records value on the wide area network. Taking the advantage of the social media in widely and quickly spreading information, archival records now are able to reach public faster and more effectively, which not only provide public historical knowledge, but also make contribution in educating people about patriotism and protection of the national territory. Vietnam Archive has gained initial success in three content. The first, providing typical archival record to political and ideological education and propaganda in the line with the party and state of orientation. Introduction, archival holding and form of National Archive Center in topic to facilitate and social growth in accessing to record while conducting study and research. Conducting online exhibitions to WAN or social media to commemorate anniversary, historical events, or significant figures. Access and apply virtual reality technology. Applying model technology in exhibition of archival records is an inevitable trend, as if you don't use it, you miss an important means to convey information to public. Vietnam Archive has implemented virtual exhibition much earlier than 2010. Recognizing the trend of modernizing exhibition through application of 4.0 industrial revolutions achievement in many control institutions, many virtual online exhibition have been designed to reach public. Vietnam Archive is trying its best to complete digitalization of national significant record to make up copy on one hand and provide more accessible copy and facilitate visual exhibition on 3D online exhibition on the other hand. Vietnam Archive has approached and applied virtual reality technology to introduce valuable records to the public, which has proved to be very effective in COVID-19 pandemic context. We have also developed easy-to-use application on handheld digital device such as smartphone or an iPad to expand space for exhibition. Application of international technology in exhibition have created contextual environment for visitors, which have made the historical record more vivid and more interesting. From the above-mentioned results, website to fan page of the National Archive Center has been rapidly reached by visitors. Therefore, virtual exhibition conducted in Vietnam Archive are comprehensive motion to connect with the reader, visitor, researchers. In the context of restriction and lockdown caused by the pandemic, meeting the need of a large number of the people in accessing online reports, especially helping them to adapt with changes. Diversified approach to reach public. During the lockdown caused by COVID-19, Vietnam Archive has spent more time on compiling publication on many topics of public concerns. We have also provided archival record for many national and local TV programs, providing information on archival record to good questions for TV game shows in the print time had been provided to be a new but effective way. During the pandemic, schools used the internet to cope with the interruption caused by COVID-19. distance education become popular. ARCIVE must have in providing material for the reference, creating vivid teaching material, and supporting teachers in building the lesson plans. It's a good way to improve the youngest interest in history. The third party is about the COVID pandemic turned difficulties into opportunities. Government all over the world have implemented different necessary measures to prevent the spreading and outbreak of the coronavirus, including social distance, restriction, and even lockdown in cities. In the context of general effects on all social aspects, culture, and in general, and system of ARCIVE in the world in particular have suffered many serious impacts caused by the coronavirus. However, Vietnam ARCIVE seen many opportunities in this, such as opportunity to create a new channel of communication between ARCIVE and the public, opportunity to encourage the public to plan for on-site visit to GAP, opportunity to build new data bank for product made from ARCIVE resources, which are used by creating industries such as publication, agriculture, tourism, and education. Opportunity to spell message on significance and roles of ARCIVE in general and ARCIVE record in particular, making contribution to pandemic prevention in every country. In current situation, the government pay more attention to information in ARCIVE, which reflect government experience and reaction in overcoming past pandemic. This is an important source of information for the research and the policy makers to make their decision on social management in this struggling time. Opportunity for cooperating and sharing. Facing up with the challenges in applying modern technology in promoting ARCIVE record value and maintaining activities in ARCIVE, it would be more difficult to a single institution to handle all issues dealing with the researching, applying, maintaining, using, and enhancing technology. Therefore, cooperation and sharing would be a solution to take advantage of all parties in creating a comprehensive product to encourage ARCIVE in applying technology to reach research and readers in this particular circumstance. If the cooperation among ARCIVE, technology provider, and public connecting partners, such as ARCIVE institution, technology provider to reach school, etc. Opportunity to keep a significant resource because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the fight against the pandemic. This is an urgent task for the ARCIVE to keep evidence about the way that the government, the people, and the international community have reacted to the pandemic for the future reference. The first party is conclusion. In the context of uncertainty caused by the pandemic, in addition to strictly complying with the government institution of disease prevention and control, Vietnam ARCIVE had made many changes in its thinking and approach regarding effective and safe promotion of ARCIVE archival records value. However, this is only the first step in the journey of carrying out its mission, preserving and promoting the value of archival record for the people and the advancement of society. It is certain that the Vietnamese government will overcome this pandemic, and Vietnam Archive will continue to maintain its operation while finding new direction and adaptation to the post-pandemic situation, meeting the need of researching and using archival records of the public, thereby building a recovery roadmap in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Director General. Thank you to all our presenters today, and thank you to all viewers for attending this session. If you have additional questions for the presenters, you can ask them through email. Be sure to take good care of yourself during this pandemic. Enjoy the day and stay safe, everyone. On behalf of Sabica, we would like to express our tremendous thanks to you, everyone, for making the time to listen and give attention to the seminar. And it is one of Sabica members' effort during this uncertainty period. Thank you to all members for the effort and the support and the solidarity. See you next time. Bye-bye.